their introduction, the 1050 rules have let residents within 350 metres of bushfire-prone areas cut down trees within 10 metres of their house and clear vegetation within 50 metres. That's meant in some areas of suburban Sydney, even a little piece of bushland nearby has given residents a licence to lop.
Moratorium now!
My name's Alison Kerr and I live in Normanhurst.
I'm Mayor at Pittwater, Jacqueline Townsend.
I'm Dr. Ruth Newman.
I am a tree lover. I grew up in Avalon.
My name's Lucy.
Hi, I'm Gail Giles-Gidney, Mayor of the City of Willoughby.
We very much like the trees and we look forward to our two small boys climbing them one day.
Moratorium now!
We have water dragons we see regularly, brush turkeys, possums, wallabies.
Kind of have been at one with nature from a very young age. My parents always took us bushwalking and out on the boat.
I'm Graham Ross, the proprietor of Graham Ross Horticultural Consultants, established 1978, and Ross Garden Tours, a company established in 1980.
Moratorium now!
If a tree could whisper in your ear, I can tell you what you would hear.
Moratorium now!
My husband and I both work in the city and our home is a retreat for us, and we come home to the green and the cool and the sound of the birds flying around in the trees, and it really is an oasis away from our everyday lives.
My name's Jennifer. I live in French's Forest. I live there with my husband and I have 2 children.
I came to understand that the 1050 code had been passed when I called Hornsby Council one day after hearing chainsaws in my neighbour's property.
I'm not one of these green hippies, you know.
Stop the chop!
I've only become really passionate about this in the last couple of weeks.
Beautiful big silver gums. There were 5 that were removed in one foul swoop, very sadly.
Oh, I cried all day.
Stop the chop!
I'm finding my walks in the morning with the dogs are quite interesting.
Stop the chop!
Because I keep coming across people with chainsaws in their hands. I would much rather have the tree canopy.
They in fact needed a crane to come in and remove them.
We set up the camera the night before and took time-lapse photographs of the tree. And you could, you know, sort of living things swaying in the breeze and...
This vista on all 3 sides is about to disappear.
There's this living thing there that's been there so many years. It's adding such beauty. Still now, I leave the curtain shut to not look and see the tree.
People cutting down trees, that should be stopped immediately.
Most of the people I've spoken to who have removed the trees have done it because they're afraid of the branches falling on their animals or their cars, or they simply just don't like the leaves.
These clowns have no idea, they have no idea that this tree is producing oxygen that they breathe. I wish it was them that would snuff it when this tree's gone.
I mean, there's so many benefits of trees, and then these people have this irrational fear about their pool they've built under it, and they're willing just to chop it down.
Nothing compares to the sound of the chainsaws.
First, council said the trees can't get cut down unless it's for extremely good reason. Then the government said that there's a rule. If the tree is within 10 metres of your house, then you can chop it down.
They're cutting down trees for development, they're cutting down trees for views. They're cutting down trees because the trees drop too many gum nuts and leaves on their driveway, and they don't want that.
There's a pair of owls that live in a gum 1 block from here, and my 2-year-old son and I often go for a walk to check out this pair of tawny frogmouth, we'll just call them owls for the sake of getting it right. And those owls are no longer there.
There are ways in which we can mitigate against fire risk without destroying our tree canopy.
The trees that we have close to our house, such as this one here, actually are going to protect the house.
The garden community is a much better fire break than anything you can create.
You'd have to burn through hundreds and hundreds of homes before there would be a house alight in this area.
High moisture content and a mixture of native trees and exotic trees really breaks down the speed of a fire.
Apart from the aesthetic value, apart from living and enjoying looking out at the beautiful trees,
the trees are where you can play.
A tree itself can be an ecosystem.
And you can make tree houses like we're in right now.
And yes, possums live in it, yes, birds live in it.
They also provide habitat, they provide hollows, they provide nest sites, they provide food for animals, even plants and stuff that are growing within the tree.
You start taking out trees like this, we are seriously putting a nail in our own coffins, because that environmental habitat that we're all living in is already under massive pressure. Just because we're here with our roads, our railway lines, and our houses, and our footpaths, and our decks.
Shelter's a very important one for somewhere like Australia, where we have huge issues with skin cancer, overexposure to the sun, so they provide shade for us, they provide a cooling effect. All this kind of stuff is really taken for granted by humans.
85% of us live around the outskirts of Sydney. We can hear the surf. That's where we like to live. Now, if we've got trees coming down that are major trees, that are protective trees, everyone's worrying about them bursting into flames. I'm more worried about the clowns that take trees down and put my tree under increased pressure.
55% of Pittwater locality is covered in tree coverage. 45% of it can be removed under the 1050 code. So we will be left with 10% tree coverage if everyone takes advantage of this 1050 code.
So there's a lot of issues that the 1050 has created, and as far as I'm concerned, every single one of them is bad.
The thing is that it's been introduced so quickly and it's been so immediate.
As far as I can see, no formal science applies to this legislation.
It should be open and transparent to the community. It wasn't and it isn't.
I've never received so many emails and phone calls from people saying what is going on.
Something going on that you don't think is right.
And it's great. I'm very much encouraging of that because people do need to get involved and they do need to question what's going on.
And quite often it's not right and there's something that can be done about it.
My mum's been ringing everyone and she's really stressed about this.
Since 1788, we've lost 73% of our vegetation in New South Wales.
I want to thank the arborists being here today.
Our business, as Dane said, it's not just about making money.
I want to thank them, our local arborists.
It's about doing the right thing by the customer and certainly by the environment.
I want to thank you for standing strong with us, for standing behind your community who you have worked with, along with the staff at council.
We're losing tan, black bucks, you name it, and Gophers, blue gums, grey gums a day. You have a look at the bad government's policies on this state and on our suburbs.
We've got people from Ryde here, we've got people from Hunters Hill, from Hornsby, from Willoughby, from Mossman, from the Central Coast, from Lane Cove, from Greenwich, from Riverview.
Following a chorus of complaints, the Minister today announced changes.
Where we have two categories of reserves. Category 1, it's been reduced from a 350 metre buffer to 100 metres, and for Category 2 reserves, smaller reserves, they've been reduced from 150 metres to 30 metres.
These are a very modest set of concessions the government has made. It is still a far too broad brush.
Moratorium now!
Why don't we just enjoy the trees? Or we can play and build tree houses.